The crystal glass shattered on the floor inches from my feet. "Madison Wells!" Denise's voice cut through the dining room like a siren. "Do you have any idea how much a baccarat glass costs?" I froze with my tray trembling in my hands. Of course I knew. $300, the equivalent of my overdue rent. Another waitress rushed past me with a broom while I mumbled apologies and backed away from the horrified couple of customers. Welcome to another glamorous day at Marchand, Manhattan's most pretentious restaurant where I'd been spilling wine on rich people for 3 years. 2 hours later, I was in the tiny locker room changing out of my black uniform into faded jeans when Denise appeared in the doorway. My manager had that expression, half exasperated, half calculating, that never meant anything good. "I need to talk to you." My stomach sank. Here comes the firing, I thought, already calculating how long my emergency fund, non-existent, would sustain me. "Look, about the glass. I can pay in installments." "It's not about the glass." Denise crossed her arms, her eagle eyes assessing me. "Do you know the Whitney estate?" I blinked. Everyone in New York knew the Whitney estate. The Kensington Whitney property in the Hamptons, where the elite of the elite spent summers drinking Aperol spritzes and deciding the future of the American economy. I know it, from magazines. They're having a private event Saturday, engagement party. They need extra staff. She paused dramatically. They're paying $1,000 per person, plus tips, $1,000. The words echoed in my head like church bells. $1,000 would pay my overdue rent, the electric bill, the student loan payment, and still leave enough for food that wasn't instant ramen. "I'll take it." The words came out before my brain could process. "When? Where? What do I need to do? I can start now." Denise raised one perfectly drawn eyebrow. "Easy, Wells. This is elite work. Impeccable behavior, absolute discretion, 0 mistakes." Her gaze dropped to my feet, where minutes ago a $300 glass had met its tragic end. "Think you can handle it?" I lifted my chin, ignoring the stab of insecurity. "I can handle it." "Good. Because the hostess specifically requested our best staff." She handed me a thick envelope. "Confidentiality agreement, dress code, instructions. The event is for Nathaniel Ashford and Scarlett Vanderberg. You heard of them?" I had. Nathaniel Ashford, heir to a billionaire hotel empire. Scarlett Vanderberg, socialite, philanthropist, face of 3 luxury campaigns. The perfect couple, unofficial American royalty. I've heard of them. "Then you know you can't screw this up." Denise glared at me. "Not one broken glass, Madison. Not one." 2 days earlier, I was on the packed subway heading back to my closet-sized apartment when reality hit me like a runaway train. $1,000. Serving $1,000 a bottle champagne to people who wore watches worth the price of cars. Circulating among heirs and CEOs in their private playground while pretending to be invisible. Did I really want to do this? I looked through the dirty window at my own reflection. Madison Wells, 26 years old, NYU literature graduate, thanks student debt, Brooklyn resident, chronic dreamer who still believes she'd write the great American novel someday. For now, I wrote orders on little pads and memorized wine preferences. My phone buzzed. Text from my best friend, Jade. "Tell me you did not agree to serve at Billionaire Barbie's party." I rolled my eyes and typed back. $1,000, Jade. 1,000. Those events are nightmares. Remember Melissa? Served at a billionaire wedding and had a panic attack. Melissa has panic attacks watching margarine commercials. I'm serious, Mads. These people are another level. They'll treat you like furniture. I sighed, pocketing my phone. Jade wasn't wrong, but furniture didn't have overdue rent. When I got home, I opened the envelope Denise had given me. The confidentiality agreement was 4 pages long. 4. Basically, if I told anyone anything about the event, who was there, what they ate, how many times Scarlett Vanderberg went to the bathroom, I'd be sued through my 5th generation of descendants. The dress code was specific. Black uniform provided, hair pulled back, neutral makeup, short clean nails, minimal jewelry, closed low-heeled shoes. The instructions were even more detailed. Never make direct eye contact with guests, never initiate conversation, never comment on anything seen or heard, maintain respectful distance, anticipate needs without being intrusive. It was like a manual for becoming a well-dressed ghost. I sat on my bed that was also my couch, thanks, 200-square-foot studio, and stared at the cracked ceiling. You can do this, I told myself. It's just a few hours. Smile, serve, disappear. Easy. My reflection in the window didn't look convinced, but $1,000 was $1,000. And Madison Wells had never been good at turning down impossible challenges. The Whitney estate looked like something out of a fairy tale written by someone's accountant. I stepped off the staff van Saturday afternoon and my jaw nearly hit the pristine gravel driveway. Rolling lawns that could fit 3 football fields. A mansion that made the word mansion feel inadequate. Somewhere in the distance, actual peacocks strutted like they owned the place. Which technically they kind of did. Close your mouth, Wells. You're catching flies. Marcus, the head server, adjusted his bow tie with the precision of a surgeon. He'd worked these elite events for 15 years and had the permanently unimpressed expression to prove it. Rule 1. Act like you've seen wealth before. Right, because I see oceanfront estates every day between my subway commute and dollar pizza. He almost smiled. Almost. We were herded through the service entrance, because God forbid the help use the front door, and into a staging area that was nicer than my entire apartment. Crystal chandeliers in the staff room. I was definitely in over my head. Denise appeared like a sergeant inspecting troops, her eyes scanning our uniforms for any imperfection. When she reached me, she tugged my collar straight and hissed, "Remember, invisible, professional. Don't even breathe loudly." Got it. I'm a well-dressed ninja. I'm serious, Madison. The Ashfords are... There you all are. A voice like champagne bubbles floated into the room. We turned in unison. Scarlett Vanderberg stood in the doorway wearing a white sundress that probably cost more than my college education. She was even more stunning in person, honey blonde hair, perfect skin, the kind of beauty that made you believe in genetic lottery winners. And she was smiling like we were her long-lost friends. "Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited you're here." She clasped her hands together. "This is going to be the most magical evening, and you're all part of making it perfect." I blinked. Where was the ice queen I'd expected? The imperious socialite who treated staff like furniture. "The timeline is simple," she continued, pulling out a schedule that looked more complex than a NASA launch. "Cocktail hour at 6, dinner at 7:30, dancing at 9. Nathaniel and I will make our official announcement at 8. Her smile widened impossibly. "He doesn't know I've planned a surprise presentation." "Isn't that romantic?" Marcus muttered something under his breath that sounded like, "Poor bastard." We dispersed to our stations. Mine was the East Terrace overlooking the ocean, where cocktail hour would begin. I was arranging champagne flutes when I heard it. "No, no, no, the peonies go on the left side. Are you even looking at the mock-up?" I peeked around the corner. Scarlett was no longer smiling. She stood over a terrified florist, her face transformed into something sharp and cold. "This is my engagement party. Everything must be perfect. Do you understand? Perfect." She enunciated each syllable like a threat. The florist nodded frantically, already rearranging flowers with shaking hands. Scarlett smoothed her dress, took a breath, and the smile returned like a mask sliding into place. She walked away humming. "And there's the real one." Jade's voice echoed in my head. I returned to my champagne flutes, arranging them with extra care. The last thing I needed was to be on the receiving end of that smile-turned-scalpel. At exactly 6 p.m., guests began arriving in a parade of designer outfits and inherited jewelry. I fell into the rhythm, circulate, offer drinks, vanish before they actually see you. Most didn't even glance my way. I was a moving champagne dispenser, nothing more, until he walked in. Nathaniel Ashford entered the terrace like he owned it. which, technically, his family did. Tall, dark hair slightly tousled by the ocean breeze, sharp jawline, wearing a navy suit that fit like it was painted on. He looked exactly like his photos. Polished, perfect, bored. The bored part surprised me. While everyone else laughed and networked, he stood apart, checking his watch, scanning the crowd with the enthusiasm of someone waiting for a dental appointment. "Nate! Darling!" Scarlett materialized beside him, looping her arm through his. "Come meet the Hendersons! They just got back from Monaco!" "Fantastic," he said flatly, letting himself be towed away. I watched them move through the crowd, the perfect couple. She sparkled and charmed. He nodded and smiled on cue like a well-trained show dog. I was so busy observing that I didn't notice the waiter next to me until... crash. A tray of champagne flutes exploded on the terrace floor. Every head turned. Time stopped. The waiter, a new guy named Brian, stood frozen amid the carnage, his face the color of spoiled milk. Scarlett's smile evaporated. "Oh, my God." Her voice could have frozen the ocean. "Do you know how much those cost?" I moved without thinking, dropped to my knees beside Brian and started picking up glass shards. "I've got it," I whispered. "Go get a broom. Now." He fled. I worked fast, acutely aware of 50 pairs of eyes watching the help clean up. My face burned. This was exactly what Denise warned me about. Draw no attention. Be invisible. So much for that. I reached for a large shard when another hand got there first. A male hand, tanned, expensive watch. I looked up. Nathaniel Ashford crouched beside me, picking up glass. "You'll cut yourself," he said. "Sir, you don't need to." "Neither do you." His eyes met mine. They were gray, stormy, and absolutely not bored anymore. "It was an accident. I'm staff. It's literally my job." Is kneeling in broken glass while everyone stares part of the job description? One corner of his mouth lifted. Because that seems like terrible HR policy. I almost laughed, caught myself. "Nathaniel!" Scarlett's voice cracked like a whip. "What are you doing?" He stood slowly, offering me his hand. I stared at it like it might explode. "Helping," he called back calmly. "The staff will handle it. Come. Now." His hand was still extended, waiting. Every instinct screamed at me to refuse. To stay invisible. To not touch the billionaire groom at his own engagement party while his terrifying fiancée watched. But my knees hurt, and his eyes held something that looked almost like understanding. I took his hand. He pulled me up effortlessly. For one absurd second, we stood there, hands clasped, surrounded by shattered crystal and 50 scandalized socialites. "Thank you," I managed. "Madison." Denise's voice came from somewhere behind me, deadly quiet. A word? I was so fired. But as I turned to face my doom, I caught Nathaniel's expression. He was looking at me like he'd just discovered something unexpected. And Scarlett was looking at me like she'd just identified a threat. Great. I'd been at the Whitney estate for exactly 47 minutes. This was going to be a long night. Denise didn't fire me. Worse, she assigned me to direct table service. Which meant I'd be in the main dining room, fully visible, serving the happy couple and their 50 closest billionaire friends. "Consider it a test," she hissed while adjusting my collar with unnecessary force. "One more incident and you're done. Not just here. Everywhere. I'll make sure of it." "Understood." "And Madison?" Her eyes narrowed. "Whatever that was with Mr. Ashford." "Never again. These people aren't your friends. They're not even the same species as us." I nodded, my cheeks burning. It had been nothing. A moment of basic human decency. Why did it feel like I'd committed treason? The dining room took my breath away despite my determination to stay unimpressed. A table stretched beneath an actual Chagall painting, set with china so delicate it looked like it might dissolve if you breathed on it. Candles floated in crystal bowls. White roses cascaded from a centerpiece that probably cost more than my car, if I had a car. I took my position along the wall with 5 other servers, all of us standing at attention like the world's most overdressed soldiers. Guests filtered in, their laughter echoing off marble floors. I recognized faces from magazines, a tech billionaire, a former ambassador, someone who definitely owned a sports team. Nathaniel entered last, Scarlett glued to his arm like a beautiful barnacle. And then Patricia said the villa only had 6 bedrooms. Scarlett's laugh tinkled like breaking glass. "Can you imagine?" I told her, "Darling, that's not a villa. That's a cottage." Nathaniel made a non-committal sound. They took their seats at the head of the table. Scarlett immediately launched into animated conversation with the woman beside her. Nathaniel stared at his empty plate like it held the secrets of the universe. Marcus gave the signal. We moved in synchronized precision, pouring wine, setting down appetizers, seared scallops with microgreens that looked like edible art. I approached Nathaniel's seat, my heart hammering for no logical reason. "Wine, sir?" I kept my eyes on the bottle. "Please." His voice was quiet. "And you can call me Nathaniel." "Sir" makes me feel like my father. I poured, careful not to make eye contact. Professional, invisible. Is that a bad thing? The words escaped before I could stop them. Damn it. Rule number 1. Don't engage. But he actually smiled. "You've clearly never met my father." Madison. Marcus's warning tone from across the room. I moved on quickly, cursing my inability to keep my mouth shut. Dinner progressed through 7 courses. I served and cleared, my feet screaming in the required low heels. The guests talked about things I couldn't fathom. Summer homes in Provence, yacht specifications, charity galas where the ticket price could feed a family for a year. I was clearing the main course when I heard Scarlett's voice rise above the others. "A toast!" She stood, champagne flute raised, looking like a princess from a very expensive Disney movie. "To my incredible fiancé!" Everyone raised their glasses. Nathaniel's smile looked painted on. "Nathaniel Ashford is the most wonderful man I've ever known," Scarlett continued, her hand on his shoulder possessively. "Brilliant, handsome, successful, and soon, all mine." Polite laughter rippled through the room. "We've known each other since we were children. Our families have been intertwined for generations. This union is—" She paused dramatically. "Destiny." I glanced at Nathaniel. His jaw was tight, his knuckles white around the champagne flute. This was the face of a man celebrating his destiny. "So here's to us," Scarlett concluded. "To perfect love and perfect lives." "To Scarlett and Nathaniel," the guests chorused. I was backing toward the wall when it happened. A guest, clearly several drinks past tipsy, gestured wildly while telling a story. His elbow caught my tray. Time slowed as a full glass of red wine arced through the air in a beautiful, terrible parabola and landed directly on Scarlett's white dress. The room went silent. Scarlett looked down at the spreading crimson stain like she couldn't quite process what had happened. Then her head snapped up, her eyes finding me with laser precision. "You." "Ma'am, I'm so sorry, it was an accident." "An accident?" Her voice climbed. "First the champagne glasses, now this. Are you completely incompetent?" "Actually, it was my fault." The drunk guest half stood. I hit her tray. "I don't care whose fault it was." Scarlett's perfect face twisted with rage. "This dress is Valentino, custom, irreplaceable." The room watched like spectators at the execution. "I'll pay for the cleaning," I stammered, knowing my entire night's wages wouldn't cover dry cleaning a tissue from this woman's wardrobe. "You'll pay?" Scarlett laughed, sharp and cruel. "With what, your tips? This costs more than you make in a year." "Scarlett." Nathaniel's voice cut through the room, quiet but commanding. She turned to him, her expression shifting. "Nate, darling, you see what she—" "It was an accident." He stood slowly. The gentleman already admitted fault. There's no need to humiliate the staff. Humiliate? I'm the one humiliated. Look at me. I am looking. His tone was careful, controlled. And I see someone making a scene at her own party over a dress. You could have heard a pin drop on the plush carpet. Scarlett's face flushed. How dare you take her side? I'm not taking sides. I'm asking you to show some grace. He glanced at me briefly. She already apologized. For a moment, I thought Scarlett might throw her champagne at him. Instead, she grabbed her clutch and spun toward the door. I need to change. Don't let the dessert course start without me. She paused at the threshold, her eyes meeting mine with pure venom. And get that server out of my sight. She swept from the room, leaving a wake of uncomfortable silence. The guests slowly resumed conversation, their voices hushed. I stood frozen, my tray trembling. Marcus appeared at my elbow. Staff kitchen. Now. I fled, my face burning with humiliation and confusion. Because Nathaniel Ashford, billionaire, groom, member of American royalty, had just defended me. A waitress, against his own fiancée, at his own engagement party. And from the look Scarlett gave me before she left, I'd just made a very powerful, very beautiful enemy. In the staff kitchen, I leaned against the counter, trying to steady my breathing. That was insane. Another server whispered. Did you see her face? Did you see his face? Someone else added. Man looked ready to bolt. I said nothing, replaying the moment. The way Nathaniel stood up for me. The careful distance in his voice when he spoke to Scarlett. The tightness in his jaw during her toast. This wasn't a love match. This was something else entirely. And I just stumbled into the middle of it wearing orthopedic shoes and carrying a tray. Through the kitchen door I heard the party resuming. Laughter, music, the clinking of crystal. The sound of people pretending everything was perfect. I understood that game now. I'd been playing it all night. I wasn't supposed to be in the garden. Staff had strict instructions. Stay in designated areas, use service corridors, remain invisible. But after 2 hours of hiding in the kitchen while Scarlett shot daggers at me from across the dining room, I needed air that didn't smell like my own humiliation. The estate gardens were empty, illuminated by string lights that turned everything dreamlike. I found a stone bench hidden behind a rose trellis and collapsed onto it, kicking off the torture devices Denise called appropriate footwear. If you're hiding, you picked a terrible spot. I nearly jumped out of my skin. Nathaniel Ashford stood 3 feet away, bow tie undone, jacket slung over his shoulder. He looked nothing like the polished groom from dinner. He looked tired. I'm sorry, sir, I was just taking a break? He gestured to the bench. Mind if I join you? My own party is suffocating me. Every alarm bell in my head screamed. This was exactly what Denise warned against. Fraternizing, getting comfortable, forgetting my place. But he was already sitting, maintaining a respectful distance, staring out at the moonlit ocean. We sat in silence. It should have been awkward. Somehow it wasn't. Thank you, I finally said. For earlier, you didn't have to do that. Actually, I did. He loosened his collar. Scarlett was out of line. She was upset. The dress cost less than what my father spends on golf monthly. He turned to face me. Money wasn't the issue. Control was. I had no idea how to respond to that. I'm Nathaniel, by the way, since we're apparently doing this. He extended his hand. Madison. I shook it, his grip warm and firm. But you probably knew that from Scarlett screaming my name. He laughed, an actual genuine laugh that transformed his entire face. Fair point. He leaned back against the bench. So, Madison, the brave waitress who rescues incompetent colleagues and survives my fiancé's wrath. What's your story? My story? Your real one. Not the summary on a staff file. His gray eyes studied me with unexpected interest. What does Madison Wells do when she's not serving champagne to entitled rich people? I should have given a polite, generic answer. Instead, I found myself telling the truth. I write, or try to. Mostly I serve overpriced food, and wonder when my English degree will become useful for something other than understanding wine descriptions. What do you write? Stories, fiction, things about people who feel real instead of perfect. I paused. Your crowd would probably hate it. My crowd hates everything that doesn't come with a trust fund or a Michelin star. He smiled slightly. I'd probably love it. You don't even know if I'm any good. Are you? The question was direct, genuine. I considered lying, being modest, then decided what the hell. This entire night had already been surreal. Yeah, I think I am. Then why are you here serving wine instead of writing? Because stories don't pay rent. I shrugged. The romantic artist starving in a garret sounds poetic until you're actually starving. So I write at 2 a.m. and serve wine at 2 p.m. and try not to confuse which version of myself I'm supposed to be. He was quiet for a moment, his expression unreadable. I understand that more than you'd think. Really? I couldn't keep the skepticism from my voice. Which version of yourself are you confused about? The billionaire heir or the other billionaire heir? Instead of being offended, he laughed again. The version who wants to design sustainable hotels, and the version whose father expects him to maintain the family empire exactly as is. The version who loves architecture and the version who sits through hotel board meetings. He paused. The version who wants to choose his own life and the version who's marrying Scarlett Vanderberg in 3 months. The last part hung in the air like smoke. That's complicated. That's diplomatic. He turned toward me. You want to know the truth? Today was supposed to be one of the happiest days of my life. Instead, I've been counting down the minutes until I could escape my own engagement party. Then why are you doing it? The question escaped before I could stop it. Way too personal, way too honest. But he didn't seem to mind. Because it's what everyone expects. Our families have been planning this since we were teenagers. Scarlett wants it. My father wants it. He ran a hand through his hair. And I've spent 30 years being exactly who everyone wants me to be. I'm not sure I know how to be anything else. That sounds exhausting. It is. He met my eyes. But you get that, don't you? The performing. Being who people need you to be. I did. God help me, I completely understood. Nathaniel! We both jumped. Scarlett's voice carried across the garden like a siren. Damn! He stood quickly. I should. There you are! Scarlett appeared around the trellis, now in a different designer dress. Her eyes narrowed when she saw me. What's going on here? Nothing. I needed air. Nathaniel's voice shifted, becoming formal, distant. Ms. Wells was just leaving. I grabbed my shoes and stood. My apologies, ma'am. Scarlett's smile was razor sharp. How convenient that you keep appearing wherever my fiancé is. Scarlett. Nathaniel's tone held a warning. What? I'm just noticing. She linked her arm through his possessively. The Hendersons want to discuss the wedding venue. We should get back. Of course. He glanced at me one last time. Something in his expression looked almost apologetic. Good night, Ms. Wells. Good night, sir. I watched them walk away, Scarlett chattering about table settings and flower arrangements while Nathaniel's shoulders grew more tense with each step. Back in the staff area, I found Jade's text waiting. Still alive? Or did billionaire Barbie murder you? I stared at my phone, unsure how to answer. Because something had shifted tonight. In that garden, in that conversation. Nathaniel Ashford wasn't just a bored billionaire going through the motions. He was a man trapped in a life he didn't choose, performing for an audience that never stopped watching, just like me. Except his cage was gilded and came with an oceanfront estate, while mine came with student debt and a studio apartment. Marcus stuck his head in. Wells, party's wrapping up. 1 more hour and you're free. Free. The word felt ironic. I slipped my shoes back on and returned to the terrace where guests were saying prolonged goodbyes. Scarlett held court, showing off her engagement ring, a diamond so large it could probably be seen from space. Nathaniel stood beside her, smiling on cue, playing his part. Our eyes met briefly across the crowd. And in that moment, I knew three things with absolute certainty. 1, I was in way over my head. 2, Nathaniel Ashford was not in love with Scarlett Vanderberg. And 3, I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life by caring about either of those facts. I didn't expect to see Nathaniel Ashford again. The engagement party ended at midnight. I collected my $1,000, survived Denise's final lecture about boundaries and professionalism, and took the staff van back to reality. By Sunday afternoon, the whole thing felt like a fever dream. Jade disagreed. You had a moment with him. She sat cross-legged on my bed/couch, eating Thai takeout from my only clean bowl. In a garden, under moonlight. That's basically a rom-com. It was a conversation between a server and a guest. I poked at my pad thai. There was no moment. He defended you, twice, against his terrifying fiancée. He was being decent. Rich people can occasionally have manners. Rich people can occasionally fake manners. Jade pointed her chopsticks at me. Defending the help? Actually sitting and talking to you like an equal? That's different. I wanted to argue, but I kept replaying the conversation, the way he looked at me. The exhaustion in his voice when he talked about performing. Doesn't matter anyway. I grabbed my laptop. I'll never see him again. Back to real life. Real life meant 3 double shifts at Marchand, finishing a short story I'd been working on for months, and ignoring the application to a prestigious writing workshop that I couldn't afford even if I got in. By Wednesday, the Whitney estate felt like something that happened to someone else. Then Denise called me into her office. Sit. She gestured to a chair, her expression unreadable. My stomach dropped. This was it. She'd decided I was a liability. Too much drama. That wine incident. The Ashford family requested you specifically. I blinked. What? They're hosting a dinner party Friday. Small, intimate. 20 guests. She slid a paper across the desk. They asked for you by name. The words didn't compute. Why would they? I don't know and I don't ask. Denise's eyes narrowed. But I'm warning you, Wells. Whatever happened at that engagement party, do not let it happen again. This isn't Pretty Woman. Your staff. Act like it. Nothing happened. Good. Keep it that way. She stood, dismissing me. Friday, 6 p.m. Same rate. Don't be late. I walked out in a daze. They requested me specifically. Nathaniel requested me specifically. Or maybe it was Scarlett, setting up some elaborate humiliation. That seemed more likely. Jade had other theories. He wants to see you again. She was practically bouncing. This is happening. This is employment. That's what's happening. You're in denial. Maybe I was. But Friday arrived too quickly either way. The Ashford townhouse in Manhattan was smaller than the estate, which meant it was only the size of a normal museum instead of an actual palace. I arrived early, joining a staff of 12. Marcus was there, giving me a look that said he'd heard about my special request status and wasn't impressed. Stay sharp tonight, he muttered. Mr. Ashford Sr. is hosting. He makes Scarlett look warm and fuzzy. Great. The guests arrived promptly at 7. I recognized a senator, 2 CEOs, and someone who definitely owned half of Manhattan. They gathered in a dining room where a Rothko hung casually above a fireplace. Scarlett arrived in emerald silk, her hand possessively on Nathaniel's arm. He wore a charcoal suit and the same careful smile from the engagement party. Then an older man entered, and the room's energy shifted. Nathaniel Ashford II. Call me Ashford, everyone does. Commanded attention without trying. Silver hair, sharp eyes, the bearing of someone who'd built an empire and expected the world to acknowledge it. Nathaniel, his voice boomed. Stop lurking by the door.
Senator Morrison wants to discuss the Singapore property. Nathaniel moved like a soldier following orders. I stayed against the wall, invisible, watching the dynamics play out. Ashford Sr. held court. Scarlett charmed and networked. Nathaniel participated with the enthusiasm of someone attending his own autopsy. During the second course, Ashford Sr.'s voice rose above the others. The merger papers are ready for signing. Ashford Hotels and Vanderburg Industries, finally united.
He raised his glass toward Nathaniel and Scarlett. This wedding isn't just personal, it's strategic. The perfect alliance. Scarlett beamed. Nathaniel's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. So that was it. This wasn't a marriage. It was a corporate acquisition with a wedding dress. I was refilling wine glasses when Ashford Sr. snapped his fingers in my direction. You. More wine. Now. I moved quickly, filling his glass. His eyes didn't even register my existence. Nathaniel tells me you're redesigning the Miami property, the senator said. Nathaniel has ideas. Ashford Sr. said the word like it was a disease. Sustainable materials, solar panels, reduced footprint, all very trendy, also expensive and unnecessary. Actually, Father, the projections show. I've been building hotels for 40 years. I don't need projections. I need profits. He dismissed his son with a wave. Stick to what works. The table fell silent. Nathaniel's knuckles were white around his fork. Scarlett placed her hand over his. Your father's wisdom built an empire, darling. We should listen. Translation. Stay in line. I finished my circuit and retreated, my heart unexpectedly aching for a man who had everything except the freedom to use it. After dinner, guests moved to the library for brandy and cigars, because apparently we were living in a Dickens novel. I was collecting dessert plates when I felt it. Someone watching me. I looked up. Nathaniel stood in the doorway, partially hidden by shadows. He tilted his head slightly toward a side hallway. Every rational thought screamed, no. This was exactly how people lost jobs and dignity. I glanced around. Marcus was busy. Scarlett was laughing with the senator's wife. I slipped into the hallway. Nathaniel waited near a window, hands in his pockets. This is a terrible idea, I said immediately. Probably. He didn't move closer. I needed to see if Saturday was real, or if I imagined the entire conversation. It was real. Good. I thought maybe I'd had a breakdown. He smiled slightly. How are you? The question was so genuine, so unexpectedly normal that I almost laughed. I'm fine. You look like you're being slowly suffocated by a very expensive tie. Accurate. He loosened said tie. My father's in rare form tonight. He seems intense. That's diplomatic. Most people use stronger words. He moved to the window, staring out at the city lights. He built everything from nothing, worked obsessively, sacrificed everything, including his relationship with my mother. Now he expects me to worship at the altar of his empire. And you don't want to? I want to build. Create something meaningful. Hotels that don't just serve the ultra-wealthy but actually contribute to communities. His voice gained energy. Sustainable design, local employment, responsible tourism. But that's not the Ashford way. The Ashford way is maximum profit, minimum innovation, zero deviation from the formula. So change it. It'll be your empire eventually. He turned to face me. Will it? Or will it always be his, just with my name on the paperwork? Before I could answer, voices echoed from the library. We should... Nathaniel. Scarlett's voice, sharp and searching. Go. I pushed him gently toward the library. I'll wait here. He hesitated, his eyes holding mine for a moment that stretched too long. Then he was gone. I counted to 30 before returning to the dining room, my heart racing for no good reason. Scarlett stood near the doorway, her eyes calculating. The help should use the service corridors, she said pleasantly, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Of course, Mom. My apologies. I fled to the kitchen, where Marcus gave me a look that could melt steel, but I barely noticed. Because Nathaniel Ashford kept finding me in the margins of his perfect life, and I kept letting him. The universe, I decided, had a sick sense of humor. Because 2 days after the townhouse dinner, I was back at Marchand dealing with a lunch rush when he walked in. Nathaniel Ashford, alone, in my restaurant. I literally ducked behind the bar. "What are you doing?" Jade hissed. She'd started working brunches to help with her own rent crisis. "That's him, table 6. "Don't look." She looked immediately. "Holy hell, that's billionaire Ken Dahl. What's he doing here?" "I don't know. This is a mid-range bistro. He should be eating gold leaf somewhere." "Well, he's in your section." Jade shoved me forward. "Go be professional." I smoothed my apron, grabbed a menu, and approached his table with my best Fu Wu Yuan smile plastered on. "Welcome to Marchand. Can I start you with—" "Madison." He said my name like he'd been holding it in. "Hi, Mr. Ashford." I kept my voice neutral, aware that 3 other servers were suddenly very interested in refilling salt shakers nearby. "What can I get you?" "Coffee, and an explanation for why you've been avoiding me." "I haven't been avoiding you. I've been working. Some of us do that for a living." His eyes crinkled. "Fair. Can you sit for a minute?" "I'm on the clock. I'll tip extremely well." "That's bribery." "Is it working?" Despite everything, I smiled, glanced around. Denise was in her office. The lunch crowd was thinning. I slid into the seat across from him. "You have 2 minutes. Then I need to look employed." "I'll take it." He leaned forward. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest." My stomach flipped. "Okay. Am I crazy, or is there something happening here?" The question hung between us like a live wire. "Here?" I gestured to the restaurant. "You mean the overpriced sandwiches?" "Madison, I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do." His voice was quiet but intense. "Saturday in the garden, Friday in the hallway. Every time we talk, I feel like I can actually breathe for the first time in months. Tell me you don't feel it too." Every alarm in my head screamed. This was dangerous, stupid, career-ending. "You're engaged." I kept my voice low. "To Scarlett Vanderberg. You're getting married in 3 months." "I know." "Then what are you doing here?" "Honestly, I have no idea." He ran a hand through his hair. "I should be at a board meeting right now. Instead, I'm at a bistro in Brooklyn because I can't stop thinking about a woman who tells me the truth instead of what I want to hear. Nathaniel, I'm not in love with Scarlett." The words came out rushed, like he'd been holding them back too long. "I don't think I ever have been. This whole thing is an arrangement, a merger. My father gets his dynasty, her father gets his Ashford connection, and I get a life that looks perfect from the outside. So call it off. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple." I leaned back. "You're a grown man with more money than a small country. You can make your own choices." "Can I?" His laugh was bitter. "You think I haven't tried? Every time I even hint at postponing, my father threatens to hand the company to my cousin. Scarlett's father threatens to tank our stock. The board reminds me that this wedding is already factored into next quarter's projections. That's insane. That's my life." He met my eyes. "But then I met you, and for the first time in years, I remembered what it feels like to want something real." My heart was doing dangerous things in my chest. "I'm not some escape fantasy from your arranged marriage." I kept my voice steady. "I'm a real person with a real life that doesn't include being a billionaire's secret diversion." "That's not what isn't it?" I stood up. "You want to feel alive, feel real, so you seek out the normal girl who treats you like a human. But at the end of the day, you go home to your townhouse and your perfect fiancé and your empire. And I go back to my studio apartment and my student debt." Madison, please. Your 2 minutes are up, Mr. Ashford. I grabbed my notepad. Can I get you that coffee, or would you like to order something else? The shift in my tone made him flinch. I'll just take the check. There is no check. First coffee's on the house. I turned away before he could see my hands shaking. I made it to the kitchen before the tears started. Jade found me 30 seconds later. Oh, honey. What happened? Nothing. Everything. I don't know. I wiped my eyes furiously. He basically just confessed feelings for me. And that's bad because he's engaged, Jade, to a woman who already hates me. This is a disaster. Only if you let it be. She grabbed my shoulders. Look, I know this is complicated. Complicated? It's impossible. Maybe. She softened. But Mads, I've known you for 8 years. I've never seen you look at anyone the way you looked at him just now. I barely know him. Sometimes that's all it takes. Through the kitchen window, I watched Nathaniel stand, leave cash on the table, probably enough to cover everyone's meals for the day, and walk out. He paused at the door, looked back once. Then he was gone. I wanted to run after him. I wanted to never see him again. I wanted things I had no right to want. Denise appeared from her office. Wells, you have a phone call. Says it's urgent. I picked up the restaurant phone, my mind still spinning. Hello? Miss Wells? An unfamiliar female voice, crisp and professional. This is Catherine from the Ashford Hotel Group. Mr. Ashford has requested your services for a private event next Saturday. A charity gala at the plaza. The compensation would be... I can't. The words came out before I thought them through. Excuse me. Tell Mr. Ashford thank you, but I'm unavailable. I hung up. Denise stared at me like I'd grown a second head. Did you just turn down an Ashford event? I did. Are you insane? Do you know what that connection could mean for this restaurant? For your career? I know exactly what it means. I untied my apron. And I'm not doing it. I need some air. I walked out before she could stop me. Outside, the October wind cut through my thin shirt. I stood on the sidewalk, watching taxis blur past, trying to make sense of the chaos in my chest. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I shouldn't have come to your work. I'm sorry. But I meant every word. N. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then I blocked the number. Because Jade was wrong. Sometimes knowing you want something is exactly why you have to walk away. Especially when that something belongs to someone else. Even if he didn't want to belong to her. Even if his gray eyes haunted my dreams. Even if every logical part of me knew this was the right choice, and every other part screamed that I was making the biggest mistake of my life. I deleted the message. But I couldn't delete the feeling, and I was starting to suspect that was going to be a problem. I lasted 5 days. 5 days of ignoring the texts that came from different numbers. 5 days of Denise giving me disappointed looks. 5 days of Jade telling me I was an idiot. 5 days of lying to myself that I'd done the right thing. Then Saturday morning my buzzer rang at 7 a.m. I stumbled to the intercom in my pajamas. This better be life or death. It's me. Nathaniel's voice crackled through the speaker. Please, I just need 5 minutes. I should have told him to leave. Instead, I buzzed him up. He appeared at my door 60 seconds later, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Rumpled dress shirt, no tie, hair disheveled. Still unfairly attractive. Your doorman let me up very reluctantly. I think he wanted to call the police. He glanced past me into my tiny studio. Can I come in? I stepped aside. Watched him take in my entire life in one glance. The bed couch, the makeshift desk, the stack of manuscript pages, the kitchen that was basically a hot plate and a prayer. It's not much, I said defensively. It's honest. He turned to face me. Unlike everything in my life right now. Nathaniel, you can't be here. I know. I also couldn't spend another day pretending that conversation at the restaurant didn't happen. He stayed near the door, maintaining distance. You were right. About all of it. I was being selfish, unfair. You deserve better than being someone's escape. Okay. I crossed my arms. So why are you here? Because I ended it. The words came out quiet but firm. With Scarlett, this morning. The floor tilted beneath me. You what? I called off the engagement. He met my eyes. You made me realize I was living someone else's life, so I'm taking mine back. Nathaniel. My mind raced. Your father, the merger, all still problems. All still consequences I'll have to face. He stepped closer. But I couldn't marry her, Madison. Not when every conversation with you feels more real than 3 years with Scarlett ever did. This is crazy. You barely know me. I know you work 3 jobs and still find time to write. I know you defend colleagues who mess up. I know you say exactly what you think, even when it's inconvenient. His voice softened. I know that talking to you feels like the first honest thing I've done in years. My heart was doing acrobatics. What did Scarlett say? A lot of things. Most of them unrepeatable. He ran a hand through his hair. She's threatening lawsuits. Her father's threatening to tank our stock. My father isn't speaking to me. The wedding planner is having a breakdown. So you've just blown up your entire life? Yes. He smiled slightly. Terrifying, isn't it? You're insane. Probably. He took another step closer. But I'm also free for the first time in my life. And I wanted you to know that what I said at the restaurant wasn't about escape. It was about hope. The air between us felt electric. I don't know what to do with this, I admitted quietly. Neither do I. He was close enough now that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes, the uncertainty. But I'd like to figure it out, if you're willing. This is going to be complicated. Definitely. Your world and mine, they don't exactly mesh. So we build a new one. He reached for my hand carefully, giving me time to pull away. What do you say, Madison Wells? Want to take a chance on something completely impractical? I looked at our joined hands, his perfectly manicured, mine with a hangnail from stress biting. Every logical cell in my body screamed, this is a disaster. But when I looked up at his face, saw the genuine hope there, the vulnerability. One date. The words escaped before wisdom could stop them. A real one, not some charity gala or family dinner, something normal. His smile could have powered the city. Deal. Tonight? You move fast. I wasted 3 years moving slow. He squeezed my hand gently. 7 p.m.? I'll pick you up? I'll meet you. I pulled back my hand. And Nathaniel, this is just a date, not a guarantee. Understood. He headed for the door, then paused. Thank you for not blocking this number too. How did you know? You blocked 3 others. I got creative. He grinned. See you tonight. After he left, I stood in my apartment, trying to process what just happened. Then my phone rang. Jade. Please tell me you didn't just agree to date the man who called off a society wedding this morning. How did you, it's everywhere, Mads. TMZ page 6, every gossip site. Billionaire Ashford ends engagement days before charity gala. There are pictures of Scarlett leaving the townhouse in tears. My stomach dropped. I grabbed my laptop. Sure enough, the internet had exploded. Ashford van der Berg wedding cancelled. Sources say Nathaniel Ashford called off engagement unexpectedly. Scarlett van der Berg devastated by sudden split. And the comments. Oh, the comments. There must be another woman. No way he just randomly ended it. Scarlett deserves better. My phone rang again. Unknown number. I answered cautiously. Ms. Wells? A male voice, cold and commanding. This is Nathaniel Ashford too. My blood turned to ice. Mr. Ashford. I'll be brief. Stay away from my son. Whatever fantasy you've concocted, it ends now. His voice could have frozen fire. You're a distraction he can't afford. If you care about him at all, you'll disappear. With respect, sir, that's not your decision, isn't it? He laughed without humor. You think this ends well? You, a waitress, with my son. The press will destroy you. Society will reject you. And when Nathaniel realizes the cost of this little rebellion, he'll resent you for it. Maybe. I kept my voice steady despite my shaking hands. But that's his choice to make. Brave words. Let's see how brave you feel when photographers camp outside your apartment. When your name is dragged through every gossip column. When every mistake you've ever made becomes public entertainment. He hung up. I sat down heavily, the reality crashing over me. This wasn't a romantic comedy. This was real life, with real consequences. My phone buzzed. Nathaniel. Just heard my father called you. I'm sorry. He's going to try to scare you away. Don't let him. Please. I stared at the message for a long moment. Then another call came through. A number I recognized this time. Denise. Wells, I just got a very interesting call from the Ashford Hotel Group. They're terminating all contracts with Marchand, effective immediately. Her voice was ice. Want to tell me why? I can explain. Don't bother. You're fired. And Madison? She paused. Was he worth your career? The line went dead. I sat in my studio apartment, unemployed, targeted by a billionaire patriarch, about to be tabloid fodder, having just agreed to a date with a man whose world was designed to crush people like me. Jade's voice echoed. Sometimes knowing you want something is exactly why you have to walk away. But I hadn't walked away. And now the fallout was beginning. My phone lit up with a text from Nathaniel. Still on for tonight? I know a great pizza place. Very normal. Very unbillionaire, promise. I looked around my apartment, thought about my fired job, the furious ex-fiancé, the powerful father, the media storm brewing. Every rational instinct screamed to end this now. Instead, I typed, 7 p.m., and it better be good pizza. Because sometimes the biggest mistake and the best decision look exactly the same. And you don't know which one it is until it's too late to turn back. The pizza place was perfect. A tiny Brooklyn joint with checkered tablecloths and a jukebox that only played songs from the 80s. Nathaniel showed up in jeans and a t-shirt, looking more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. You actually own normal clothes, I said as he slid into the booth. I contain multitudes. He grinned. Fair warning, I'm about to destroy this pizza in a very unbillionaire way. He did. We both did. And for 2 hours, we talked about everything and nothing. Books, terrible movies, embarrassing childhood stories. He told me about the treehouse he built at 12 that collapsed immediately. I told him about the novel I wrote at 16 that was truly, spectacularly awful. It was easy, natural, real. Until my phone started buzzing. First text was from a number I didn't recognize. Homewrecker. Then another. Gold digger. Then a photo. Me and Nathaniel through the restaurant window, already online. Ashford's mystery woman identified. Madison Wells, 26, waitress. Nathaniel saw my face change. Madison? I showed him the phone. Watched his expression harden. I'm sorry. I thought we'd have more time before. It's fine. I wasn't sure if I was lying. It's not fine. He reached across the table, taking my hand. But I meant what I said. I'm not running from this, from us. There is no us yet. This is literally our first date. Then let's make it count. He stood, pulling me with him. Come on. Where are we going? Somewhere they can't follow. Somewhere turned out to be the rooftop of his building. Manhattan sprawled beneath us, a galaxy of lights. The October wind whipped around us, and Nathaniel draped his jacket over my shoulders without asking. I used to come up here as a kid, he said quietly. When my parents fought. When the pressure got too much. Up here I could pretend I was anyone, going anywhere. And where did you want to go? Everywhere. Nowhere. He smiled slightly. Somewhere I could just be Nate, instead of Nathaniel Ashford III, heir to the empire, keeper of the legacy. So why didn't you? Fear, mostly. Obligation. The certainty that disappointing everyone who believed in me was worse than disappointing myself. He turned to face me. Until I met someone who looked at me and saw just a person. Not a portfolio. Not a merger opportunity. Just Nate. That person sounds smart. She's terrifying, actually. Called me out on my bullshit from day one. His eyes crinkled. But she also makes me want to be brave. My heart hammered. Nathaniel, I know this is fast. I know it's complicated. I know my father will make your life hell, and Scarlett will try to destroy you, and the board will question my judgment. He stepped closer. But Madison, I have spent 30 years making the safe choice. The expected choice. And I was miserable. So I'm what? Your rebellion? No. He cupped my face gently. You're my choice. The first real one I've made in years. And I'm asking if you'll choose me back. Knowing it won't be easy. Knowing people will judge and criticize and try to tear us apart. I should have said no. Should have been sensible. Instead, I kissed him. He tasted like pizza and possibility. His arms wrapped around me like he'd been waiting his whole life for this moment. The city sparkled below us, indifferent to two people rewriting their stories on a rooftop. When we finally broke apart, I was breathless. That's a yes, then? His smile was devastating. That's a, let's see where this goes. I poked his chest. But Nathaniel, if we do this, we do it honestly. No hiding. No pretending to be people we're not. Deal. He kissed my forehead. Fair warning, though. My life is about to get very messy. Mine already is. I laughed. I got fired today, remember? About that. He looked almost sheepish. How would you feel about being the creative director for the new Ashford Sustainable Hotel project? I stepped back. Excuse me. I need someone who understands authentic storytelling. Someone who won't just write corporate nonsense but will find the real narrative. He spoke faster, excited. You'd work with the design team, develop the brand voice, write the content. Actual salary, benefits, creative freedom. You can't just give me a job because we're dating. I'm not. I'm offering you a job because you're talented, and I need someone I trust. He paused. The dating is just a spectacular bonus. That's nepotism. It's recognizing talent. He grinned. Plus, you said you wanted normal. What's more normal than working together and driving each other crazy? Despite everything, I laughed. You're insane. Completely. He pulled me close again. So what do you say? Want to build something real with me? Both professionally and personally? I looked at this man who'd upended his entire life in less than a week, who stood on a rooftop offering me not a fairy tale but something better, a messy, complicated, real partnership. Yes. The word felt like jumping off a cliff. But if your father tries to buy me off, I'm keeping the money. That's my girl. 6 months later, the hotel project launched to unexpected acclaim. Architectural Digest called it revolutionary. Forbes praised the sustainable model. My writing portfolio finally had work I was proud of. Scarlett married a tech billionaire 3 months after our split, sent us a passive-aggressive wedding invitation that we didn't attend. Nathaniel's father still didn't speak to him, but his mother, who'd been silent for years, called to say she was proud. The media eventually got bored. We became old news, replaced by the next scandal. And me? I finished my novel. An agent requested the full manuscript. No promises, but it was something. Jade stood in my new apartment, still modest but no longer a closet, and shook her head. You know this is insane, right? 6 months ago, you were dodging broken glass at a party. Now you're dating the guy who threw the party. Technically, his fiancée threw the party. Ex-fiancée. She grinned. I still can't believe this worked out. It almost didn't, multiple times. The door opened. Nathaniel walked in with takeout bags, looking wonderfully normal in jeans and my NYU sweatshirt he'd stolen. Pizza or Thai? I got both because I couldn't decide. He kissed my cheek. Hey, Jade. Hey, billionaire Ken doll. She grabbed her jacket. I'm out. You two are disgustingly cute, and it's hurting my single soul. After she left, Nathaniel pulled me onto the couch. How was the writing today? Good. Finished chapter 12. I curled into his side. How was the board meeting? Terrible. They hate all my ideas and think I've lost my mind. He smiled. So, normal Tuesday. We ate pizza and argued about whether Die Hard was a Christmas movie. He fell asleep on my couch that was actually a couch now, not a bed. I watched him. This man who chose chaos over comfort, authenticity over approval. Was it perfect? No. Were there still problems? Absolutely. His family, my insecurities, the constant scrutiny. But it was real. And real, I'd learned, was better than perfect any day. My phone buzzed. Email notification. Dear Ms. Wells, thank you for submitting the space between us. We'd like to offer representation. I read it 3 times, then shook Nathaniel awake. What? What's wrong? He sat up, immediately alert. Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. I showed him the email, my hands shaking. They want to represent my book. His face lit up like I'd told him he won the lottery. Madison, that's incredible. He pulled me into a crushing hug. I'm so proud of you. It might not sell. The agent might hate the revisions. This could all fall apart. Or, he interrupted, kissing me softly, it could be the beginning of something amazing. Like us. I kissed him back, tasting possibility and pizza, and the future we were building together. Outside, the city hummed with a million stories. And finally, I was living mine. 2 years later. The book signing line stretched around the block. I sat at a table in a Brooklyn bookstore, my debut novel stacked beside me, and tried not to hyperventilate. The space between us had exceeded everyone's expectations, including mine. Next, Jade called from her position as my unofficial handler. A young woman approached, clutching the book. This story changed my life, she said quietly. The way Madison chooses herself, even when it's terrifying. I needed that. Moments like this made every rejection letter worth it. Nathaniel watched from the back, trying to be inconspicuous and failing. He caught my eye and smiled. The sustainable hotel project had expanded to 5 cities. He'd officially taken over as CEO when his father retired, grudgingly admitting that maybe innovation wasn't corporate suicide. We'd moved in together, a real apartment with actual rooms and everything. Jade lived 2 blocks away with her girlfriend. Marcus, surprisingly, became a friend, sent me a congratulations card that said, "Told you that night was insane inside." Even Denise sent flowers, with a card that read, "You were always too good for Marchand. Congratulations." After the signing, Nathaniel and I walked through Brooklyn hand in hand. Tired? He asked. Exhausted. Happy. I leaned into him. Still can't believe this is real. Better than perfect. So much better. We stopped at the pizza place where we'd had our first date. Same booth. Same terrible jukebox. Nathaniel reached into his pocket. So, I have a question. If it's about Thai versus pizza again, I swear, Madison Wells. He slid out of the booth, onto one knee. Time stopped. You once told me this was just a date, not a guarantee. He pulled out a small box. I'm hoping to upgrade that status. What do you say? Want to make this official? The ring was simple, perfect, so utterly us. You're proposing in a pizza joint? I'm proposing in our pizza joint, where you first took a chance on a messed-up billionaire who didn't know how to be himself. His smile was everything. So, will you marry me? I looked at this man who chose love over legacy, who supported my dreams while building his own, who made me laugh and challenged me and felt like home. Yes. I pulled him up, kissing him as the entire restaurant erupted in applause. But I'm keeping my name. Wouldn't have it any other way. Outside, the city sparkled with possibility. Our story had started with broken glass and champagne. It would continue with pizza and promises, and the beautiful, messy reality of choosing each other. Every single day, the real end.